What's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today is the 18th of October, 2025. This video is titled "How Glasses Affect Body Mechanics." Let's do it as we do. This weird. I was going to say something, I guess not right now. I'll talk about each of the four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. We'll talk about where clothing sits, and then we'll get into this discussion on glasses. Little context, right? We allow the body to work. That's what we do, but that's just where I'll start here on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. We allow the human body to work. We do it through clothing. The only thing physically placed on our bodies are physically placed on Earth. There's only one way the human body could ever work. There's a center line to it. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, naturally stabilizing not only our head, but our entire body. There's musculature from our lower jawbone here that goes up between the eyes and the ears to the crown of the head, as you can see, if you can. And Earth has a center line to gravity that it pulls down on everything with. We need to mesh our body's center line with Earth's center of gravity, but we place clothing on our bodies. Clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, where I'll discuss here in a minute when I talk about where clothing sits, and be made from 100% natural materials, because the human body is. Natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the human being's natural, well, there you go, right? Within the human being's functioning. The human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. There's only one way it could ever work. There's a neutral position to every joint. We just need to reside and rely and stay within our neutral positions in everything in the body, like the wrist here that is easy to show on camera. Straight out from the outside of the forearm down and out the pinky finger is that neutral wrist. Then there's motion all outside of that. The whole body has to work activated as a whole. The feet point straight forward. The pinky toes forward are neutral, just like the pinky finger. And then there's internal rotation and external rotation from the fingertips to the elbow, okay, in the forearms, from the toes to the knee in the lower legs, and then from the hand up to the shoulder, and from the foot up to the hip. Internal and external rotation from the neutral. So there's no way to stretch the human body and benefit. There's no way to, and I say that so like casually, it sounds crazy, it's the truth. There's no way to train the human being. There's just a neutral. If you stretch outside of that, you've gone too far from the neutral, from the other direction. In everything in the body, there's only one way that it could actually sit in its natural positioning. But the body is about the skeletal system. Now we've got things in clothing that didn't exist just decades back as of today's date. Stretch in clothing. It came and comes from these unnatural materials that just weren't even something that even existed. They're man-made and they're new. So, stretch in clothing and stretching the body goes the opposite direction of the only way muscles could ever work. All musculature in the body only ever can contract, getting shorter to work. There's just opposing muscles to each functionality. So one side contracts while the other relaxes, and then that side contracts while the first one relaxes. That's just the only way the body could ever work, okay? And so clothing is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. How could it not be? It's the only thing physically placed onto us, but we don't know what we don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know. But a lot of people are giving a lot of information on workouts and diets and all sorts of things that are false. The information is false, but you know, we don't know what we don't know, except we talk about under In The Image Clothing Company, eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, all the things we do as a human being and just doing them naturally. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth, like very, very, very deeply, to where there's no possible opinion or dispute to what we talk about here under In The Image Clothing Company. It's just the truth. We're not perfect, but you know, we get down to really what's going on and how to. A lot of free modifications to allow the body to work in our clothing. And we just talk about daily life as well. So In The Image Clothing Company clothing will always do the three things for sure, right? Stay centered, fit correct, and be made from 100% natural materials. But stick around for all that we do, because we do a lot, all right? That's a lot of what we do on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. And really the point is getting out of these chronic patternings and scar tissue. When we introduce ropes to the body like shoelaces or drawstrings, rotating the whole body, oversized clothing, pulling down on the whole body, imbalances in clothing that alter the whole body out of its center line, we get into these chronic patternings and scar tissue that can last for years, decades, or just about an entire lifetime. and we show how to actually get out of these things, right? The jaw is a big one. Eating and drinking with the left hand, a video we have under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, really just meaning non-dominant hand. Our teeth just wear down, the musculature just gets used only on one side of the body versus the other, and the jaw has to stay in the center, okay? There's a lot of videos we have talking about the jaw. There's a lot of just talk that gets had under In The Image Clothing Company about the jaw. It's extremely important, okay? And it'll go into this video with the glasses, because that musculature that comes from the lower jawbone up here, like I said, right between the eye and the ear on both sides of the head to the crown of the head up here, that's where those temples sit on our glasses. And then we'll talk about back here, the importance of even sternocleidomastoid insertions, a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. These insertions right behind the ear to this muscle called the sternocleidomastoid. There's one on both sides, comes down and connects to the sternum and the collarbone from up here at the base of the skull. And then just barely clears that lower jaw bone. Well, I'll talk about it in depth, but yeah, a lot of this glasses discussion is very largely to do with the jaw. I have this half-eaten banana here, and there's these bees, wasps, whatever they are, trying to eat it. So you can probably hear them in the microphone. Anyway, yeah. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and we discuss it. All right, we'll get into it. But In The Image Clothing Company poodles, we do the same thing that we do for human beings, but for dogs. Rather than phrasing it, letting or allowing the body to work, we say letting dogs stay natural, just because it's a whole separate fourth of our company that's encapsulated in all that we are, has all four sides to us. But In The Image Clothing Company, yes. In The Image Clothing Company poodles, we specialize in purebred standard poodles. We breed them, registering them properly. Giving dogs birth certificates and advocating for doing these things is how we advocate for being a good owner of dogs, right? Letting dogs stay natural comes through what we talk about with feeding dogs, hydration for dogs, interacting with our dogs as the owners, like holding leashes naturally to keep that neutral wrist rather than pulling our whole bodies out of their only neutral positions while we walk our dogs. Keeping collars centered, a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. For us human beings, we have musculature coming through our top collar, just through our neck is what I mean, and the collar sits around our neck. And In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. If there's a seam in the collar of our top, it won't allow the top to sit centered, and then our whole body will be damaged to the tip of our toes and the tips of our fingers. So, dog collars, that's a big thing, you know, keeping dog collars centered. They're usually much more imbalanced than human being collars. And we talk about leashes and harnesses and keeping these things just unaltering the dogs when they're just these man-made things placed onto them. Dogs on slippery, flat flooring is very unnatural for their joints, and they can get a lot of problems from that. We talk about feeding at proper heights. Just we really get into it, right? Letting dogs stay natural, keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes through just, you know, all that we talk about with microchipping dogs. And, you know, we get into it. We really do. So purebred standard poodles is what we specialize in. Breeding them, you know, we'll always have our application on InTheImageClothingCompany.com for when the litters do come, but very strict screening process on who the dogs go to keep them at home for life. But here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, where we are based as In The Image Clothing Company, poodle parade events. And actually, I'll get to it here. One other fourth of us is In The Image Clothing Company podcast, but I'll talk about it here in a minute. Last night, I filmed episode 170 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, and it's titled An Intro to Poodle Parade Events. And a lot of what we'll do is just family reunion type stuff. I like to word it like that because it's about coming together. Bring your poodles that are purebred of any size or poodle mixes of any size. And a lot in the mountains, a lot at parks, at just natural places, areas with water, lakes or rivers. And I'll give information where I do there on letting dogs stay natural, but a lot of it will just be for fun. So come, hang out, have a good time. We'll have a lot of poodle parade events. The team will be there. In The Image Clothing Company's team, we'll have dogs with us, poodles, purebred, standard size. So yeah, come hang out, all right? Check scheduling, InTheImageClothingCompany.com, and a lot of like what can and cannot be brought and, you know, what to expect for each individual event. So yeah, In The Image Clothing Company podcast, that's where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. You know, it's not a claim. I'm not religious, although I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But we just talk about life. We talk about it as it is. We're all human beings placed on the same earth. We all have one God. We discuss him as he says that he is, although we are imperfect. But yes, episode 170 is what we are on as of, well, last night in the Image Clothing Company podcast. Okay, a lot of just deep insights on life. Now, another fourth of us in the Image Clothing Company music. I show sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the neutral wrist, to not alter that natural rounding to our hands. We talk about just in life, having fingernails all the way to the tips of our fingers, toenails all the way to the tips of our toes, cut relatively flat so we don't roll out of that neutral wrist position. You can round the corners of the nails so they're not sharp. But in addition to showing setups of guitars, I also make a lot of music. I do lyricism, rhythm and poetry, spoken word, off the top freestyle type rap. Okay, Metronome Madness is what we do that through as one of the ways. I'm on episode 33 of Metronome Madness over on In the Image Clothing Company music. But, you know, singing, just health of the body while we make music, insights on things like that, and, you know, music always geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ. So there you go. That's a little bit of the each four sides to us. And by the way, I shaved my head and face, and I have little like hair slivers all over my shirt. It is what it is. Just addressing it, because if you can tell, you can tell. And now maybe you'll just like look for it to see, hey, can I see what he's talking about? Clothing for everybody has to sit in the same location. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, tall or short, skinny or fat, any age or from any part of the earth or from any time period ever. You're just a human being. We're all the same, designed in the image of Jesus Christ. We've got differences where we do, deformities, amputations, surgeries, birth defects, whatever it is, but there's universal human design, and our clothing is just placed on our bodies, and we can't work around it. We have to know how the body works, at least to the degree of how to not alter it, right? Allow it to work. We allow God's design of the human being to work. We let God's design of the dog to stay natural, right? See what I mean? It's on the back end. We take our hands off of things and they just work better. So, just one thing I didn't say in the intro, in the Image Clothing Company dog products, right? Collars, leashes, harnesses, similar things, same intent behind human being clothing in InTheImageClothingCompany.com. But pants that we wear have to sit above our hip bones, but below our lowest ribs. That's what's called our natural waist. That's where we bend side to side at the spine, and then we don't have our pant waistline in a location where it's restricting our hips motion. We also keep our pants slightly higher in the front than the rear, because that's just how we'd be neutral on Earth's gravity with no pants on, with our musculature activated. Okay, the body just working, standing, vertical. There you go. So, tops that we wear have seams on top of our shoulders. They need to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders, because our shoulders only ever work behind our head. That's just where they connect mechanically to the very base of the rear of the skull and the spine, with those upper trapezius muscles and all the other ones that are back there, right? The natural scapula position, a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, and I went into it in depth, okay? The edge seams of our tops should just be as close as we can get to the edges of our shoulders, because it's a joint of the body parts and a joint of fabric. Okay, just mesh as close as we can get to the edge of the shoulders with those seams, and there you go. Two things we have as prerequisites under In the Image Clothing Company to not alter the body. Firstly, when we're weaving ropes across the top of our feet, well, that's all we're doing. The winds have changed, I get it. The wind. Maybe I forgot to say something. No, we're good. But it might be windy. Raw, real, blunt, bold, In the Image Clothing Company. Blunt, bold, raw, and real, right? There's wind where there is. It's about the documentation as of today's date. Congruency going forth more than these videos trying to be any kind of professional quality by worldly standards. So, weaving ropes across the top of our feet. Yes, there's only one way the feet are shaped, with the mechanics of bones, joints. Yes, joints of bones through ligaments with tendons connecting the musculature to them, gripping arches inward, opposing the center line of the body, and keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity. So what we title In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is the only way that we can just not alter the feet, like the height of a gripped arch. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. There's only one way the top of the feet are shaped. And then we tie shoes as well, just to keep them on. We have to tie shoes over toward the center line of the body on both sides, because there's two sides to the body with a center on Earth's center of gravity. I was 24 years old before I started tying my shoes evenly. I was tying them both to the right, twisting my entire body into the right-handed patterning in this right-handed world that we live in, right? We live in a right-handed world. If we are 85% right-handed as human beings, which we are across the earth, gravity will just pull our tops off to the right side as we use the right hand more than the left. Right? Tops are like a cage for the shoulders, a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. They just need to lock our shoulders in place. And imbalances in clothing are essentially right-handed. Designs of products are used for just one hand, and it's the right hand if they're designed for just one side, because 85% of human beings are, so there you go. And there's a lot of things, just, you know, the ropes that we tie. Yeah, if you do tie even just a drawstring with one side over the other, you're rotating your whole body into this right-handed patterning. So the right side of the body gets dropped lower, farther away from the body's center line, and then externally rotated in this right-handed patterning. All musculature in the body only connects to the center, really. I mean, meaning the majority of it. Musculature connects from the outside of the shoulder to the center in the front at the sternum on both sides, and then from the outside of the shoulder to the spine in the center of the body in the rear on both sides. And then, you know, feet arches grip inward, the inner leg muscles, the adductors come into the center of the body. The body's about its center line, okay? The body's about a neutral position. The body's a mechanical machine. It's not about musculature as far as, you know, trying to gain muscle mass. It's not about anything else really besides just allowing it to stay in its neutral positions. So anyway, that was just some context, but our second prerequisite to shoelacing is removing all tags from clothing. Anywhere a tag is placed in clothing, it's either causing a physical gap, changing the body's only working position, and or it just doesn't allow musculature to activate, and then the body's trying to do compensation, but everything has a role to play and nothing can make up for something else's role, right? It all just has to work together, the human body activated as a whole. Everything's there, we just can't drag around dead weight. Okay, so let's get into this with the glasses. We're through the intro and here we go. There's a lot of things that go into this through the whole body, but we'll also talk about just directly where we're placing our glasses, what that's doing to our body. I'll give some context here. I wore glasses for somewhere around 2 years when I was about 18 to 20, give or take. Somewhere around there. Somewhere around 20 years old and a year or two younger, 2 to 2.5 years. What glasses can do is a lot for the body. Not so great is what I mean on the end of damaging the body, because we've got our nose here. The importance of even nostrils. A video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. We're just breathing through our nostrils, and each nostril will kind of go to its own lung. There's 2 lungs, there's 2 sides to the body. There's this septum in the center of the nose, and we talk about how it gets what's called deviated, which just means out of place, off to the side. In the right-handed world, our whole face sometimes, like I was saying with the jaw, when eating with only the right hand, will move off to the side. And then in this right-handed world, our whole right side's just dropped off to the side. Oversized clothing, tops falling off to the right side. The dreaded collar seam almost always placed on the upper left side, which just drops the right side just because there's excess material in the collar of our top around our neck. Tying shoes to the right will have the right side of our body be potentially a whole gripped arches distance or height lower on the right side, because arches grip inward, and if we tie our shoes to the right on both feet, then the right side won't be able to grip inward because it's just a rope with one side over the other, right? So over toward the center line with those knots on each side of the body with our shoes when we tie them. And we show it, you know, you can find In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique many places under wherever you can find our 5-word name as a whole, In The Image Clothing Company. But the big thing is, yeah, we have to keep our nose in the center, because our glasses, well, regardless, the nose has to stay in the center. And often, and so commonly, people have a deviated septum off to the right. And I did as well. And I'm actually still, as of today at least, even before coming over here to film this video, I'm still working through imbalances in my nose to get it centered. And a lot of it is from glasses. That's what I'm saying, is the correlation with placing glasses on our face. Those little center nose pieces sit on our nose. So the top part of the nose here is bone of the skull. And then once you get about halfway down from the center of the eyes here, when you're going down the nose, it turns to just cartilage for the rest of basically the lower half of the nose. And our glasses normally sit right on this bone up here. And then you've got the cartilage part of the nose down below that can move. And you can't actually move the top part of your nose. It's just part of your skull's structure. And what happens is, we talk about blowing the nose. I mean, the importance of just blowing the nose centered, is huge. Because if we're in a right-handed patterning, and I talk about this, we have a video titled, not the importance of, as of today's date, I'll probably make one. Well, I mean, there's the importance of even nostrils. I guess maybe I won't make another video quite like that, but we just talk about it where we do, and we always will where we do. Just blowing the nose centered, because there is a video that I made, though, something like that, though. How blowing the nose affects body mechanics is what I titled it. Anyway, yeah, I mean, we need to blow our nose and clear the entire pathway of the air, right, from the very top of the nose. So really, and this is just context for blowing the nose, from In the Image Clothing Company's founder, right? We'll just always talk about this, like I'm saying, where we do, but when we blow the nose, we need to have our hands, if we're like holding a tissue or some fabric to blow into, have your fingers, if you're putting your fingers on your nose, all the way up between your eyes. So then we're blowing this whole pathway of our nostrils clear. Because often people, and this is the thing with glasses, will only start their fingers about halfway up their nose. But if you have glasses sitting on this upper half of your nose here, with those little nose pieces of the glasses, right, of the frames, then you can't even get your fingers all the way up to clear the whole top of the nostril cavity, like that pathway for the air to come in and out. Well, oxygen to come in and carbon dioxide to come out of the nostrils, right? The human body is just a machine. It just exchanges gases. It's a mechanical machine. It's a, plumbing machine, and all the ways that I could just sit here and discuss how it's a machine. I just like to really show it as it is, to where, I mean, truly, there's only one way anything in the body could ever do anything that it ever could do. And we just have to allow it to. And so when we blow our nose, we need our fingers all the way up here, like I'm saying, to blow and clear the whole pathway. And, well, the importance of even short sleeves. If you don't have short sleeves short enough, well, keeping short sleeves short. Those are two videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. If you have short sleeves that aren't short enough for you to get all the way up to your nose up here, because you hit your sleeves and you just can barely reach up to your own face, which I've dealt with in my past as well, wearing oversized clothing for so many years. And then the importance of even short sleeves is, in the right-handed world, if you have play in your top, and they're not like a cage for the shoulders, right? The tops that you wear to where they're locked in at your shoulders, then we will be blowing our nose with our arms only being able to reach up to the degree that they can. In a right-handed world, our right side's dropped. So we come up to blow the nose like this, and we can only reach our right hand partially as high as our left hand. And then you're clearing more of an opening on one side of your nose than the other, all right? And we're basically pulling our nose off to the right side when we blow it, because we just can't get our right arm in this right-handed patterning all the way to our own rib cage, stemming from the feet. The foot's just pulled out. You can't even get your arm across your body, reaching the right arm across the body. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. The importance of even forearm rotations, a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. An internal rotation of the forearm comes across the body when the arm is allowed to get all the way to the body. And in the right-handed patterning, just from clothing pulling our bodies off to the side, when we blow our nose, we'll blow it really unbalanced, uncentered, imbalanced. Collars falling off to our right. We're always leaning our head to the right, just about, in this right-handed patterning for sure, right? What it means to lean left is a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, and that's opposing our right-handed patterning. And there's a lot of rotations that go into that, a lot of musculature that needs to be able to activate that can't within a right-handed patterning. And so all this is happening in our nose. That is one of the things that I mentioned as the center of the body in our intros. Okay, it's in the center of the body. And our glasses frames are sitting on our nose. So if we're always tilting our head to our right side, just in this right-handed patterning, because the collar is pulling on our neck on the right side, because our shoulder seams are falling off to our right side, because of drawstrings rotating our hips in a right-handed knot, because of just imbalances throughout the body stemming from, again, down at the feet, potentially uneven shoe lacing or tying of shoe laces. And there's a lot in anything, right? Placing things in the pockets, being right-handed, how sleeve cuffs affect body mechanics, how pant cuffs affect body mechanics, videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. So all these things that just put us into this right-handed patterning. Then we've got these glasses sitting on our face with our head off to the right. Okay, and I mentioned these sternocleidomastoid insertions right behind the ear. That's where this muscle comes up and connects to the skull on both sides, the sternocleidomastoid. And so there's just a lot happening with the body already being imbalanced if it's in patterning at all. And then we place glasses on our nose, the frames, and we're breathing. Breath is the essence of human life, right? That's the thing we can go the least amount of time without. And we're always breathing if we're alive. Otherwise, you're not alive. And so the thing we're doing the most, except I guess pumping blood, that, you know, and blinking and things, but we're always breathing. And it's coming through our nostrils. And so if we have something placed on our nostrils, which is truly what's happening with those glasses center pieces on the nose, then if our bodies are imbalanced, gravity is not only just pulling our bodies down uncentered, but now it's pulling these frames of the glasses down on our nose uncentered, and our whole face now is being pulled off to the side by the glasses just sitting on us and gravity pulling them down. If our bodies are imbalanced, it'll pull those glasses off to the right side as well. And so that's just pulling on our nose and reinforcing this deviated septum. But this is a big thing that happens. Like I said in the video titled The Importance of Even Nostrils, is often we'll get a lot of built up scar tissue right here between the eyes and then down right below the eyes on the nose. And that's from glasses a lot of the time. It can come from just patterning within the body as well, just because we're breathing through there. And if it's imbalanced, it will just, you know, bind up with scar tissue and hardened flesh. Okay, for that's how I'm going to explain it right now for this. But it's on the right side of the nose mostly, and you can see this in people. Another thing that I mentioned in that video titled The Importance of Even Nostrils is being able to see past our nose. Because if you can't have a even line of sight past your nose because you have a deviated septum or your center of your nose is off-centered, then you will never be able to actually look one side past your nose. If your nose is falling off to the right side, check the phrasing, falling off, truly. I mean, that's it's just being pulled by gravity and by just, you know, the whole body pulling away from the nose. The same skin on the tip of the nose is the same skin on the tips of our fingers, tips of the head, tips of the toe, all of the toes as well, because the skin is it's actually an organ, and it's the same skin across the whole body. You know, when I talk about oversized clothing makes life hard, and I capitalized all the letters in the word hard, I talked about that a lot, how a lot of what's happening is just the skin being pulled down on our whole skull, and our whole body anywhere that oversized clothing is just pulling down on us, right? So this is the big thing with the glasses, is we need to be able to scrunch our nose. just because there's natural motion to all the skin and the musculature across the whole skull, all over the face. In the ears they can move. You know, the whole head has a lot of actually thin little muscles across it, and they need to be able to move. And if we have these glasses temple pieces, yes, but also just those nose pieces sitting on our nose, then we can build up all this scar tissue, because you can't scrunch your nose if something's just hanging on it, the little nose pieces from our glasses. And so after 2+ years of me wearing glasses, I built up so much scar tissue there that I didn't know about until, you know, around this year, really. I mean, yeah, you know, last year maybe, but you know, that's like 6 or 7, yeah, somewhere around 6, probably, give or take, years after, you know, give or take that many years. But yeah, you know, regardless, just meaning, that's what I say, you know, these patternings that we get into in life can last our entire life. If we don't know where to look, we don't know where to look. In the Image Clothing Company, we legitimately actually give the true, actual fixes to human beings' physical problems, right? And it is clothing, and we just discuss it, like I say, in such depth that there's no possible dispute. But this is also what I say, is anything that clothes the human being with something is clothing the human being. So glasses and you know, any jewelry and all the things that are on the body ever, things in the ears, right? The importance of even ears, a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. And I'll talk about this with the glasses as well, because we have those temple pieces that come across and sit on our ears, you know, similar to what they're doing to the nose. So anyway, we need our nose to be able to be where we can visually see in both directions, because if our septum is off to the right side, because the center of our glasses is pulling our nose off to the right, because our head's leaning right, because our body's in this right-handed patterning, because of the right-handed world and just right-handedness in all the ways that clothing is shipped across the earth nowadays, it's the, you know, the same patternings get used and worn across the whole planet in ways that didn't happen in the past. And then also things are made by machinery, and we have so many rotated seams. You know, In The Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification is one of our free modifications, that, you know, there's a lot of rotated seams because of factory robotic stitching, you know, that just is new for us as human beings. You know, just decades ago that started to happen as of today's date, the 18th of October 2025. So yeah, this is the big thing, right? Is we have to it's humbling. That's what I mean. I discuss things in such depth, there's no possible dispute, and it humbles me. It almost makes me mad, you know. I'm in this for life. Evan Strong, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. So stick around if you'd like. Stick around for the poodles. I'm not wrapping it up yet, but yeah. So there you go, right? We need to be able to see past our nose. Otherwise, as we navigate through life, or as we squint our eyes and try to look at things, we're looking around our noses, patterning off-centered to the right. And then that just reinforces our body's entirety being off-centered to the right, because, you know, we go through life, if we can see, those of us that can, you know, navigating where we're going with our eyes. And there's a lot with glasses, because I talk about, I mean, there's a video titled The Human Head under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, and just, you know, all the musculature around the eyes and the whole face, you know, and depending on the shape of the frame of the glasses, sometimes your eyebrows are hitting the frames, and then if you're imbalanced at all, your eyebrows will be working differently. And just sensory wise, you can feel things, right? I talk about sensory activation, just the sense of touch that's not only on our fingertips, our tongue, and our feet, but the whole body has, you know, little nerve endings and the sense of touch. And so that's on our eyebrows as well, and our cheekbones here as well, where the frames of the glasses can be really inhibiting things. And then again, if your head's just off to the side, you've just got differences and discrepancy in musculatures. How would that be? Like this, right? Musculature's activation, because you're in patterning, just because everybody is to a degree. I mean, there's nobody out there that's entirely centered. That'd be ideal. I mean, that is the goal. The goal is naturally. If we never had anything placed on our bodies to alter them, we'd just be on Earth's gravity, centered and just working. But everybody's in patterning to a degree, and it's unavoidable to a degree, but we show a lot of, right, how to not be in patterning, because even something as simple as just the dreaded collar seam, it will just, you know, pull on your body, and it's almost always placed on the upper left side of collars of tops. And there you go, there's your deviated septum with your glasses sitting on your nose, uncentered, in your whole body, even your cheek musculature here below your eyes, you know, coming up and hitting the base of your glasses frames. And then your smile gets crooked because you're just working around glasses placed on you, you know. And then whatever else too that's working with that to actually damage your body, you know, patterning wise, anywhere else, from, you know, your feet up, from your hands up, from the tip of your head down, which that's not very far, but I just, you know, the extremities of the body, to what glasses would do as well. So the big thing with these jaw muscles is it's huge, because the jaw stabilizes the entire body, as I said, and as I say, you know, workouts don't help the jaw. That's a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. We've got so many videos about the jaw, how clothing affects speaking, the jaw and the sternocleidomastoid is a video, right? These are videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. The importance of the corners of the mouth. I talked about eating and drinking with the left hand. Videos again under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. We just talk about a lot of things with the jaw because it's absolutely massive, you know, what it does for the entire body. And the jaw is essentially the ears. All the ears are is just a hole between the lower jawbone in the rear here and then the skull, and really just that insertion to the musculature of the sternocleidomastoid to the skull, right? So if we alter our ears in any way, we alter the position of our jaw, and then our jaw stabilizing our entire body, well, won't be quite how it naturally would if it's altered by anything. And so we place these side pieces of our glasses, the temple pieces, if you will, on top of our ears, right? That's where glasses normally sit, is right on top of the ears, and then right on the nose, where I was discussing at the beginning of this. Well, just meaning before I discuss this. In this, there's an airplane. And so this is a lot, man. A lot of beautiful stuff. Eternal truths. In The Image Clothing Company. I'm here for life. Evan Strong as the founder. Stick around for the poodles. So those temple pieces that sit on top of our ears, they actually go right across these jaw muscles. You know, like I said, and like you can feel on your own body, like you can see here on me, that musculature just comes from this lower jawbone, okay, and goes all the way up here, right between the eyes and the ears, where those temple pieces of the glasses sit, and then all the way up to the crown of the head here. And so with those temple pieces against that musculature, that affects our jaw big time. And then now, if our ears aren't even heights, then as we're just using our jaw to speak, because that's just a physical thing, speaking, you know, we're just forming what makes these sounds we hear that we know as the language we speak. And as we eat, as we breathe, as we just do anything in life, because even squinting like this, you see all that's happening activation-wise in my jaw, in my face, and around my ears and my eyes. The jaw stabilizes the entire body. I know I've said it many times in this because it's huge for the sake of discussing the glasses. That's huge in general, but then the glasses can very, very much alter the jaw, and then that goes down to the feet and down to the hands and out through the whole body, again, to the tip of the head, right? Because we need all this motion and all the musculature that's very thin all across our skull. And if we have these temple side pieces of our glasses not allowing our ears to have their natural motion, and not allowing all the skin and musculature on the whole head to just have its natural motion, then it'll bind up and it'll create scar tissue and get like stuck into whatever position it's in while the glasses are placed on you. And again, that position can come from your feet, your hands, right? The importance of same size hands. The hands are the shoulder goes to the jaw goes to the glasses. Do you see what I mean? Or the feet, again, you know, discrepancies in feet in any way through shoelacing or shoes, pant cuffs on the feet so the arches can't grip. and rise, right? Then that can come up to our glasses and then go to our jaw, or go to our eyes, or go to our ears, and then it goes through our whole life, and through the whole body with this patterning and this damage, that's happening to the body. So we need to keep ears unaltered, in the same height, the same size, in the same location on each side of our bodies, just because there's two of them opposing the center line, and that's our sense of hearing. So we can't alter that, because that's one of our 5 senses that then would be altered to the degree that it is. And you can check out the video, The Importance of Even Ears, for more context on the ears that I've given there. There is a lot that happens here, and so we have to keep our jaw centered. But as we're chewing, or again, any motion with the jaw ever, which there's a lot that happens in life that the jaw is doing, those temple side pieces are just directly against the musculature of the jaw. And so it can just really, really alter the whole body. And then once those side pieces come over the ears, the rear of them normally sits right on that insertion of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. And so, we talk about that muscle often, and just, the right side of the body in the right-handed world. Choose the Right, an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, where I talked about things with the gospel of Jesus Christ, but also how the right side of the body is just about the only side we need to address at all in this right-handed world when it comes to ridding, patterning, and scar tissue from the body, which is what we do under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. And so, yeah, glasses that are placed where the rear of those little earpieces are sitting right on the insertion of those sternocleidomastoid muscles, well, then you've got, let's say, an imbalanced head where it's just leaning off to the right, or glasses off to the, one side or the other. However, they're not perfectly just made or shaped to fit on your own head. Then it's placed right on that insertion. And then the whole muscle down here to the collarbone and the sternum, right? Sternum, sterno, collarbone or clavicle, which is cloido, and then mastoid up here at the mastoid, the skull right behind the ear. That's why that muscle's called that. It'll affect what happens at the other end of the muscle, because musculature just inserts and pulls ends together. There's an insertion on each end of a musculature's functioning. So there you go, right? A lot of stuff that happens from the glasses. I think we're about to wrap this up, but that's beautiful, man. Yeah, so just be intentional, in life. Light glasses, maybe get some clear glasses frames, but ideally natural materials as well, placed on the body. So maybe wood glasses frames, but then they're probably not clear, because that's another thing, is just limiting where your eyes can move. Hear this correct, because what I mean is limiting where your eyes can see, because there's glasses frames, and so you don't have quite as much peripheral vision, meaning seeing around outside of just like where you're directly looking. We should be able to see our own hands out to our own sides, basically, I don't know exactly what the degree is, but just about 180 degree of vision. We can put our arms out to our sides and look straight forward, and I can see both of my hands while I'm looking straight forward. I can actually right here. And so what happens is the frames are just something in the way, and so we can't look as far side to side, up and down. And then when we're actually moving our eyeballs, it's not just the eyeballs that are moving, but it's all the musculature around the eyebrows, around the, the cheekbone area, and just, musculature across the whole head, and the ears. The ears do a lot of motion in life as well, just naturally. And so if they're just basically pinned in one spot with glasses sitting on them, that really alters the whole body. It can alter the shoulders, and then traveling down, clear to the feet and the hands. The whole body can get altered from this. And this is what we talk about, first off, I say there's no such thing as posture. There's just, how would the human body work if it was never altered? That's what we do, with the goal being natural, and, our key phrase being allowing the body to work. There's no such thing as posture, but when we think about standing properly, just how the body would naturally work if it was never into patterning, then I don't know where I was going with that exactly. I guess just maybe I was talking about the motion that the ears have, and that just, you know, there's so much motion in the face. There I was. What you would call posture, right? Quote, posture, unquote. There's no such thing, but, you know, a well-working body, which is our goal and what we really do and show how to under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. A lot of that comes from the face. It comes from the human head. That's what that video was about, titled The Human Head, under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. It comes from things like this, you know, scar tissue on the nose, scar tissue on or in, you know, meaning in addition to scar tissue, just altered ear cartilage or anything scar tissue wise in the ears. The sternocleidomastoid insertions are just absolutely essential to focus on being even. So we don't have this bulged out insertion on the right side, you know, because our body's just pulled off to the right, and so the musculature is pulling on the skull. We get a bone spur. That's really what that's about. The importance of even sternocleidomastoid insertions. That's really what we do there. Is just break up that excess size to the insertion back there, you know, so they're even on both sides. But anyway, the big thing is, yeah, a lot of what you would call posture comes from the face, and all the musculature here on the right side of around the eyebrow area, it just gets so bound up just because it's being pulled on, and the jaw may be uncentered, and we'll get into this deeper where we do as time progresses, and in other videos more specifically about more specific things that are not glasses, but this is a lot of beautiful context for this as well. So there you go, man. I mean, glasses, we have to be intentional about them. You know, when you're moving your eyeballs, that's good context. You're not just moving your eyeballs only, but all the musculature around your eyes that goes into that as well. Squinting is huge, and just any alteration that could come from glasses frames with any motion that would just naturally be there. There you go. And then also just looking through a lens that's like a half an inch or an inch away from your own eyeballs, however far away it is, you know, a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch, I don't know exactly. And it would differ depending on where your glasses are sitting on your nose and the shape of the frame. You're not actually looking at what you're looking at. You're looking at something that's only this small distance away from your own eyeballs, and then you're seeing through that, you know, and so that alters your eyes and just your visual system as well. But then that can strain muscles in your head and your neck and your face, tension, headaches, you know, stiffness in the jaw and the neck, right, and throughout the whole body can come from glasses. So there you go. There's a lot of good context. Just remember, it comes from the feet, it comes from the hands, and anywhere else in the body that's not the face, even when the glasses are placed directly on our face. Okay, this is just how it is. The human body can only ever work activated as a whole, and so normally where the problems are is not where the problem's coming from. You know, problem meaning pain. If we have pain in a part of our bodies, it's probably just trying to compensate or make up for something else, or it's just being put into an altered position from something else being altered as well. In the case of glasses, yes, I mean, they're physically placed directly on our face, so that can cause a direct problem like what I've discussed in here, but then also from the entire body out at the very tip of his extremities as well, right? So that's where I'll leave this. Today is the 18th of October, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder in this for life of In The Image Clothing Company. So stick around for the poodles. Stick around for the poodles. Stick around for all that we do, you know, good products as well. Involve Yourself is an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. But yeah, where you can and where you do, we do throw so much through the gift of video. We have so many hundreds of videos as of today's date, and again, you know, for life we will always be filming more videos where we do. But personally, if you'd like or can come to any events or anything we do here in the state of Utah, poodle parade events are one of the big things that you can actually personally come to. If you'd like, bring your poodles. Bring your poodles, man. Poodles or poodle mixes, purebred or mixed poodle. The only two types of dogs, and that's a lot more than just two types of dogs when we're talking about mixed poodles, but yeah, those are the only dogs that are allowed at poodle parade events. This wasp just landed on my head, and thank you. Goodbye.